Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to this week's installment of Marc and the Midday. I'm Marc Weiss, along with my partner Marc Littell, a.k.a. Country, and we've got ourselves a great guest this week. We have former Major Leaguer Dave Hilton. Dave, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Marc. I'm happy to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So we wanted to talk to you about baseball, because we're all just baseball fans and crazy, but Tell us a little bit about what it was like baseball in the 1970s and how much different it is from the way things are today.
Well, it was quite different. I'm still involved on the periphery. I did about 20 years of pro coaching after I finished playing, and I still do private training and stuff like that, but it's quite different now. And in the 70s, it was like just kind of old school. I grew up as a kid in Houston, Texas, and I knew everything about baseball. I knew the history of the game. I knew all the players from the 1900s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Collected baseball cards and knew all the history of it, and that. But it's quite different in many ways now.
Dave, as a kid growing up, I was going to say just real quick, a kid growing up rooting for baseball, living in Houston. That was in the day and age before Houston had a major league team, I would assume.
Oh, it was. Yeah, they had a Colt 45. They were a Double-A team. I have a little story if you have a minute. You mentioned your baseball card collection. Well, I was friends with a kid named Mike Brownie, and Mike Brownie, he ended up signing with the Angels as a pitcher. Well, his dad was named Pitch Brownie, and he was like the Texas League all-time home run leader. And he ended up signing with the Houston Colt 45s their first year in the big leagues. And so Mike and I used to play ball out in his front yard every day. And one time we heard these fire engines, and we said, hey, let's jump on our bikes and go see where the fire engines are going. We jumped on our bikes, and they went. It was over about 3 blocks, and they led right to my house, and my house was on fire. And,
oh boy!
I was the oldest of 5 brothers, and my little brother was playing with matches in the house. He was striking them in the closet, and then he ran out, and he said, "I'm getting out of here." He was about 3, and my mom went running in with a glass of water, and that wasn't going to do anything. And basically. Nobody got hurt or anything like that, but it burned everything down. And I had about 10,000 baseball cards, all vintage 1950s cards and everything. And it's a tragedy for me on that score.
Dave, if you tell me that one of those cards was a 1952 Mickey Mantle, I'm going to be really sick right now.
Well,
please don't tell me.
I don't know if it's a 52. I know I had Mickey Mantle. I don't know if it's a 52 one.
I got to ask you a question, Dave. Where is Uvalde, Texas?
Well, that's down on the border of Texas, and my parents were both teachers, and they went to, I think it was Southwest Teachers College or Southwestern Teachers College, close to Uvalde, and that's where I was born. And my dad and mom were teachers and also a superintendent and principal of Texas schools, and we would move from small town to small town until we settled in Houston.
Sure. And then, of course, you went, I saw where you went to Rice University. That's basically Stanford of the whole area down there. I mean, you got to have some gray matter to go to that school. I definitely know that. So.
I liked school. I was actually good in school, and it was great. It was a great school, and, I loved it there.
Oh, yeah. Say what?
I'd say, Dave, when you were growing up, who were you rooting for? What was your major league team? Were you a Cardinal fan like most folks in the Southwest before Houston got a team?
No, I liked the only shows on back then were the Game of the Week with Dizzy Dean and Pee Wee Reese. And I like to watch the Pirates, Pittsburgh Pirates, because they had those sleeveless uniforms, the black sleeves. Mm-hmm. And then I end up liking the Cincinnati Reds for the same reason. And the Pirates had Dick Groat and Don Hoke and Roberto Clemente, and the Reds had Ted Kluszewski and a couple others. can't remember at the moment, but
Frank Robinson.
That was before. That was before the the flood of shows now with the games.
Sure. Who are your favorite pitchers back then, Dave? I know you've seen a lot of great pitchers. So,
well,
coming
Don
through
Drysdale and Sandy Koufax and Tom Terrific. Nolan Ryan was a rookie way back then. He grew up in Pearland, and that was about 10 miles from my house.
Did you ever face him as an amateur?
Not as an amateur. In pro ball, I did.
How did you do against guys like Nolan and Tom Terrific?
I struck out.
What a great answer.
I did do well. I did well against Steve Carlton. Remember Steve Carlton? I did do well against him and Don Gullett. Lefties, more lefties.
Sure. And then I noticed you went to Japan and played even. You played for the Yakult Swallows and the Hanshin Tigers. And so that must have been a great experience to go over there.
Yeah, it was kind of early on in the American Japanese transition. Not early, but kind of late early.
Right.
So some guys had been, and I had been with the Padres. I had some interesting experiences there, but I ended up going to Japan, and we won a World Series there, their first year that they had won one, and played with Charlie Manuel. Back then, only two guys could go, and Charlie Manuel, the hitter and manager with the Indians and Phillies, was there. It was a lot of fun, and but before I had gone there in the States, I got to play with Duke Snyder and Johnny Padres. Not many people remember that. He did a couple of years of minor league managing, and I got to play with him one of those years, and that was quite a thrill. And some other managers I got to play for were Don Zimmer, John McNamara, Bobby Valentine, Grady Little, Maury Wills, guys like
you got some dandies. There's no doubt about that. I mean, were you over there with Sadahara O, Dave? Was he playing at the time?
Yeah, he was a real classy gentleman, and the year I went was 1978. They were picked to win, and we were kind of a surprise team. I had a good year there, and Charlie had a good year, and we ended up beating them and for the World Series. And there was a story about a gentleman that's kind of like the Mark Twain of Japan.
I saw that.
Wrote a story, and my name was involved on it. But but anyway, it was a really good experience, and people were real good to me.
It was Haruki Murakami. That was his name, and he was the author. He was a big author over there for Japan, and you inspired him. I think on a double that you hit, he just had basically an epiphany or a revelation at the time because of what you had done. And all of a sudden, he comes right out of the woodwork, this guy. And that was really interesting, I noticed, this guy here, this Haruki Murakami. And it's pretty amazing.
Every year I get calls about him being on the in the run finals for the Pulitzer Prize, and so I get calls to do interviews and things like with PBS and that kind of thing. But
wow,
it was totally
amazing.
I mean, I just happened to be there, and he was, I guess, just a young person laying in the outfield grass, and had this awakening. So
you got the Big Bang Theory going right there. That's really good, Dave. So
yeah. Another thing that happened that was kind of interesting. I don't know if you remember the story about Ray Kroc. So the Padres, every year, even before I signed, they were going to be moving to another city, probably Washington each year. Well, finally they were going to move, and they printed up baseball cards with Washington on our hats, and Ray Kroc came in, the owner of McDonald's, and it's kind of, last year was a little more in the news because it was the movie The Founder about Ray Kroc. Well, anyway, he saved the team and kept us in San Diego. And those cards are kind of collector's items right now, but he was kind of a character as well. And there was this incident on opening day in 1975 where it was his first year after buying the team, the first game of the season, and he got on the microphone in the middle of the game and started kind of giving us a pep talk, you might say, in the middle of the game. And the speakers came on about the fifth inning. We're down 8-3. He was upset. I wasn't playing that game, but there was an error in the game, and he came on and said, it sounded like God coming out of the heavens. This was the worst baseball in the history of the game. And I apologize to you fans. And then you hear some rustling around. He had a few drinks. And you hear some rustling around, and then all of a sudden the microphone's quiet and everything's on. But for about 2 months after that, there was the stories and everything that followed that, you know.
So the mustard and the ketchup ran out the wrong end, I guess, apparently. So
not exactly Bob Shepard on the speaker.
Right.
No. Completely out of the blue.
That is unreal. And you know what? I remember something about that, but you were there, so that's major history right there, Dave. It really is. It really is. And I didn't know you coached so long. I know you coached with Oakland a lot, didn't you? Didn't you coach with Oakland a little bit?
And Atlanta Braves, Giants, the Orioles, the Tampa Bay. So I did about 20 years of managing coaching, and a couple with the Brewers, Milwaukee Brewers as well.
Yep. Well, you've definitely had the gambit right there with all those teams, and you know each team's just a little bit different. But you and I both know, because I see you working out these kids out here at Horizon High School out here in Arizona. And you just can't reinvent the wheel here. It's you can maybe enhance and polish that wheel a little bit, but it's still the game of baseball. And that's one thing about Dave Hilton I can say, because I see him work with so many kids out here. And Dave's really helped a lot of kids, and he does this almost on a daily basis. And it's I can tell you right now, I'm sitting here and I'm very thankful that I'm inside with some AC, because it's the monsoon season. And it's 100 degrees out here, and it's really bad right now. But that's what we go through out here sometimes to try to get these kids through on the field the right way. And Dave does too. I know that for so much. So,
well, it does get hot, and you know I like doing it, and I like coming out and seeing Marc. Marc has club teams he runs every year. They're high level, high school and college players, and there's nothing better than summer baseball in Arizona.
Yeah, really. Yeah, right. It's called slow bake out here, and the kid you had last year he came out of Cuba. He went to Panama. He was supposed to go to Indy Ball, and I get a call last year from Dave saying, "Hey, Marc, I got this kid and this guy." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, you think he can play on your team?" And he told me the scenario, and I said, "Well, heck yeah, sure he can play." But here's this 26-year-old kid that had defected from Cuba, and I think he'd spent like 3 to 4 weeks in Panama. Is that right, Dave? Am I telling that right? And then you got a hold of him then, and then you came out and Dave was on the bench out there with us and just chiming in a little bit, listening and letting him do his thing. But I thought that was so great, because some of these young kids got to see a real kid swing a bat the way you're supposed to swing a bat. And that was just absolutely amazing.
You know how it is with Marc. Was good enough to have him play because he didn't have a place to play, and but he had when you leave Cuba, you have to leave your family, and he'd gone down to Panama you have to go through all these things to just get out of there, and his dream is to play, and so he had a place to play, and he had major league skills, and I'm not Don't know if he'll get the opportunity, but he'll to play major leagues, but he is getting an opportunity to show what he can do.
Can we name drop him?
Well, I think it's Pablo Martinez, and he'll I don't think he's signed yet. He's one of a number of 20 guys trying to sign, and they were from a class of about 6 years ago on the Cuban team.
He played with Tomas, I believe, right, Dave? The kid that played outfield with Arizona. Didn't he play with him over there with Tomas?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Right. So.
Hey, Dave, I'm going to throw out some names to you, people you played with or played against, and you tell me your thoughts about it. So I'm going to throw out one, a guy like I watched play I thought was great, Dave Winfield. What's your opinion on Dave? How'd you meet Dave? What'd you think when he first showed up?
Yeah, he was a very classy person, class act. Came to San Diego. I think I'd been there a year or two, and number one draft choice, excellent in 3 different sports, big and tall. He was so strong, and he hit a ball one time off Mike Marshall, the old Dodger reliever, and it was a line drive. And so first off, Dave had an unorthodox swing. He had big, long arms. He used to drop his hands below his belt, and so he had what you call a hitch. And but he could hit that way, and he had a line drive over Mike Marshall's head, like it almost hit him in the head, and he went out of center field in San Diego.
Oh,
and
wow.
Back then, center field was deep. It wasn't, it was like 425 or something.
That was smoking it.
Yeah.
He hurt the ball.
So he was a very he's a good guy.
When you first saw him, the first year he came up, I think it was 73. Did you guys all say, like, this guy is going to be a star? Did you see it right off the bat?
Well, it was he started in the big leagues. He didn't play in the minor leagues, and
went straight from Minnesota to college, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I guess you would say so. I guess you would say that. Although he did have an unorthodox swing, but he and that's one thing on coaching that I learned is that there's a lot of players with some unorthodox swings or way of doing things, and you have to just give it a little time and see what they can do with it. You can't mold. I don't believe as a coach you can mold guys in the way that you think. You have to see what they can do first.
I think that's a great point. That's a great
point.
I coach girls softball, and I always see people trying to make every kid swing cookie cutter. And sometimes you have a different body type, and the swing you develop your swing for a certain reason.
Yeah. And Derek Sheffield has swings not the same, but he had a real hand action swing. He would dip the end of the bat toward the pitcher with his hands. And I remember I was a coach then, not a player, but I remember scouts saying, well, he can't hit that way because he uses a big bat and he's too handsy, but he had ended up with 500 homers.
Yeah, and he's close for 300 hitters, so I think, he proved them a little wrong.
Well, yeah, you look at Bobby Bonds and Carl Yastrzemski, the way they hit, and you'd say, oh my gosh, we got to change something here. And I think Dave's right. There's too many cookie cutter type guys out there, and that is the actual word. You got to give them a little chance to say, yay or nay with this swing or delivery. In my case, pitching wise. But it's real interesting to sit out there and watch the different designs of these bodies work and go about their business. So, but hey, Dave, you were over in Hawaii and you had Pepitone over there because the Islanders at the time were one of the big winners. Am I right? They were the big winner out there in the Pacific Coast League.
Well, first of all, it used to be like an old independent league with the players didn't belong to teams. They were their own, belonged just to Hawaii. And then they signed as a AAA affiliate with the Padres and then the Pirates. And I was on them with the Padres. So if you happened to get sent down from San Diego, you had to go to Honolulu. And
that's not a punishment sometimes.
So I did spend some time there, and we won 2 PCL championships back to back in a row.
Oh boy,
that was nice. But yeah, Pepitone. Oh, here's a good one about Pepitone. Now I roomed with him one road trip, but I can't really tell about that too much. But he played in the first game. Remember they had a Aloha Stadium. We used to play downtown, and then they were going to have this World Football League. So they built this new stadium out by Pearl Harbor. Beautiful, brand new stadium for football. Well, we played baseball in it as well. It would always have a light drizzle going on there. And
really?
Pepitone was kind of a character. Well, our manager was Roy Hartsfield, an old Dodger guy, and he was old school, and he didn't really like Pepitone. But
can't see that coming.
So Pepitone, he hit a fly ball into the wind into right field, and you had to drive it out because it blew straight in from right. Well, he hit the first home run there. He kind of pimps it around the bases, goes slower than Bartolo Colon. He goes down third. I don't even know if Roy shook his hand or not, but he gets the home plate and he jumps up in the air, and the drizzle had covered the plate, and he slips and lands right on his butt. So
that's a good one.
Our opening day home run there.
Did his game hairpiece fall off?
Roy didn't like hair dryers in the dressing room. I think that's another thing. But yeah, he was.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Well,
you also got to play with Willie McCovey in San Diego.
Yeah, I got to play with him. Now he was when he signed Ray Kroc came in, and all the cameras were following him. He got McCovey over there, and he went walking up to McCovey with the cameras behind him, and he stuck his hand out and he said, "Welcome to the Padres, Big Mac." And so he was tying Willie McCovey with the Big Mac, and he used he was a real long arm, 6'4", 5", and he used a real small bat, like 31-inch bat. So it looked like a toothpick up there.
Wow.
But he hit real majestic home runs.
Did the ball make a difference down when it went off his bat?
Yeah, it did.
Wow. He was he got a hit off me in San Francisco once, and it was an infield hit because I fell to a certain way, and that thing just got by me just a little bit. And you know how thick the grass is there, Dave, in San Francisco, and the old candlestick. And it's just hard to believe that Willie McCovey just beat out this ball. I
can't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, he's it's like somebody else crawling down there, So, but it was crazy.
You have to have fallen in a ditch for that to have happened.
Oh, you're not. Oh, without a doubt. I like those Ray Kroc. Yeah, I like those Ray Kroc stories. I mean, I've heard some. He's an interesting duck at that time. That was a fun era when he came in as an owner. I
want to know if Willie got any money from the Big Mac thing.
I know. And, yeah, McCovey, he was from Chicago, so he loved the Cubs. They brought Glenn Beckert over, and I think a couple other Cub guys, Randy Hundley.
Mm-hmm.
And, but he did, he kept the Padres there, and they ended up winning World Series for him, right? So.
Right. Well, Dave, we've really enjoyed having you on here, and man, you're just a plethora. I mean, just tons of information about anything and everything baseball. But I'm the closer, Dave, on this thing, and I'm going to close this thing out. And here's how we do it. We throw peas at the knees, no pies in the eyes, no wall balls, and you'll be just fine.
Take care, everyone.